Situation remains calm but tense in Kanyamazane and Mpumalanga after protests there this week. Residents want government to repair their homes which were damaged in severe hailstorms. The Mpumalanga Premier was booed out of the area yesterday. Well, eNCA's Lindokuhle Xulu is there this morning and gives us an update from there. Lindo, very good morning to you. What have you seen driving around this morning, the aftermath of days of protest so far?
Well, Yuveka, good morning. What we've seen is so much destruction in and around the area of Kanyamazane, where protesters actually said yesterday that they will a failed attempt from the Premier to actually address the residents, the protesting residents. But what they're saying is that they do not want to speak to the Premier anymore. They do not want to speak to local government. They want, in fact, the national government, and President Cyril Ramaphosa himself are saying that the local government, the province, has failed them in informing them on what is happening and actually repairing their houses, which of course was damaged by hail in May, and saying several months after that they are not willing to listen to anyone except President Cyril Ramaphosa.
So no protest this morning as far as we can see, Lindo, but what about schooling? There were lots of concerns that residents were keeping children away from school, especially with crucial exams coming up.
Well, Yuveka, it's more of a lockdown, a shutdown of the community, meaning that not a lot of people, well, a lot of workers are able to go out of the area, but certainly not a lot of people are able to access the area, and that includes the schooling staff that is from outside Kanyamazane, which of course has led to the shutdown and of schools and the closing of schools. But they're not necessarily stopping anyone from going to school. But when we spoke to one pupil yesterday, she said that they were able to go to school. They wore their uniform, but one thing, when they arrived at school, the gates were closed. There was no one at school, and hence there is that shutdown also of school. So it is a circumstantial thing to the protest right now. But schools are still inaccessible at the moment.
So what's the next move then, Lindo? I mean, what do we know about what's happening on the side of government, with the Premier being chased away yesterday? Like you said, they didn't want to speak to her. So who next? Do we know what the plan is?
Well, we are not certain of what the plan is, but we heard the Premier saying she is available if they want to talk to her, want to engage with her. But of course, that's something the residents do not want anymore. And the Premier actually said that she will be conveying the message to the President, and said, quote, if he wants to come, he will come and I will accompany him. So we're not sure what the plan of action is from government, but we know that protesters and residents are saying they will continue with their protest until that the demands that they want are met, which of course now is being addressed by the President of the country.
Okay, thanks very much for that update. Lindokuhle Xulu there. He is in Kanyamazane and Mpumalanga. Protests there still continuing. We haven't seen any crowds gathering this morning, but like he says, the aftermath of days of protest you can still see, and of course the area remains inaccessible. Well, that's